Madam President.
Senator from Missouri.
Madam President, I'm pleased to join the Senator from Arkansas in introducing this bill. He's been a great person to work with. I also want to fully associate myself with his comments about our colleagues' ability to amend these bills. Senator Mikulski and Senator Shelby have been real advocates for us getting back to the process the way it essentially worked in the country for a couple hundred years. And we've got out of the habit of bringing these bills to the floor, letting members come to the floor and offer better ways to spend this money, or if they want to propose not to spend it at all, that's one of the proposals they can make. And the Senator from Arkansas and I have worked to make the tough choices, but seldom is a bill so perfect that it can't be improved. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with defending the decisions we've made. You know, one of the real losses, I believe, to the country and the Senate of these bills not coming to the floor in recent years is that the members of the Senate haven't had to hear the debate. Members who bring the bills to the floor haven't had to defend the bill. And before you know it, if you don't have to defend what you're for, you have a hard time remembering why you're for what you're for. This process makes sense if you do it the right way. And certainly Senator Pryor has wanted to approach this in that way, and maybe more importantly from the point of he and I both, Senator Mikulski and Senator Shelby have been advocating that we bring these bills to the floor, we debate these priorities, and I'm particularly pleased to join with Senator Pryor in introducing this bill, bringing this bill to the floor, the fiscal year 2015 appropriations bill for agriculture, for rural development, for the Food and Drug Administration, and the things that relate to those, the agencies that relate to those agencies. The Senator made a good point already about how important this industry is. In Missouri as in Arkansas, it's the #1 industry, agriculture. In my state, responsible for 16% of the state workforce. And frankly, as world food needs develop, I believe the percentage of our workforce that will have jobs because of agriculture, growing it, producing it, processing it, figuring out how to get it to markets around the world will even be a higher percentage in the future. In most states, I think agriculture is the #1 industry in most states, and if it's not the #1 industry, it's right there at the top. And Madam President, for 150 years now, the federal government, through what would become the Department of Agriculture after a bill that President Lincoln signed in 1862, has been doing many of the things that we want to continue to do in this bill. This is not a newfound obligation on the part of the federal government. This is not something that the federal government just decided that it needed to have some responsibility for, but something that 150 years ago, the federal government said, you know, we don't need to have, as the land-grant universities were founded, the federal government said we need to help these universities manage the research they're doing so that what they're doing is shared throughout our country, so it's not needlessly duplicated, so it's properly not only allocated but funded. And so the activities in this bill includes one of our priorities, one of my priorities, agricultural research. It includes conservation activities, housing and business loans for rural communities, domestic and international nutrition programs, and then food and drug safety. And certainly all of those have a top priority on the list of different individual members of the Senate. But it'd be hard to find a senator that didn't have near the top of their priority list one of the things that this bill does. Senator from Arkansas and I have made difficult decisions in drafting this bill. Aside from the disaster recovery efforts, the bill is $90 million below last year's bill. It represents, I think, a responsible approach to funding these priorities, but at the same time tightening our belts as we work to live within our means. We prioritize programs that protect public health, maintain the strength of our nation's agricultural economy. Agriculture is one of the few sectors in our economy that consistently enjoys a trade surplus. Last year was our strongest export year in ag products in the history of the country. Recent information from the Department of Agriculture would indicate that 2014 is going to set a new record. We need to continue to work through the U.S. Department of Agriculture to open new markets, and we're doing that, particularly markets in Asia and Europe that need to be more open to our products. Expanding agricultural exports is vital. Every $1 billion in agricultural exports supports an estimated 8,000 American jobs. And if we need to have a domestic priority in the Congress today, it's more private sector jobs. One way to do that is to continue to do the things that we're doing in this bill and do those things even better. Opening export markets is only one piece of the puzzle that maintains our agricultural economy. The American farmer is the best in the world at producing products that are desired worldwide, desired in the global marketplace. Smart investments in ag research has helped us get to that point. We have products with a quality, with a market sensitivity, with the health and nutrition value that people all over the world want. This bill places significant emphasis on maintaining research in our land-grant universities, in our non-land grant university systems that have a commitment to agriculture, and funding competitive research beyond that in things like the Agricultural and Food Research Initiative. These programs are critical to our increased production. Every dollar spent in agricultural research results in around $20 returned to the U.S. economy. When we can make a commitment like that, and by the way, that comes year after year, once you create that notch and work to try to improve it, it continues to come. This bill also will provide our rural communities with even more ability to compete both here and abroad. We fully funded, in a bill where many items didn't get the funding that was requested, we fully funded the Food and Drug Administration request. It's important to the chairman, important to our committee, and important as we look at the health and safety of the products that the Food and Drug Administration is responsible for. Again, I want to thank the Senator from Arkansas for his leadership in this regard. I want to thank our chairman and our ranking member of the full committee for working so hard to see these bills debated on the floor. I look forward to working with our colleagues as they come up with ways to improve this bill. It's one of the three bills that are on the floor this week. I hope we can return to a day very quickly where all the appropriations bills are on the floor in as small a groups as possible, that they're all open to amendment. And we have to get back into the practice of remembering why we're for what we're for and why we've decided to propose that the hard-earned dollars of American families should be spent for these things as opposed to not spending them all or spending them for something else. It's a process that will work if the Senate shares the commitment of the chairman and Senator Shelby, and I think everybody on the Appropriations Committee, to try to get back into the business of doing this business publicly and openly and in the right way.